What's up, everyone? Welcome to day 2 of my brand new small account challenge of trading in a $2,000 account using Charles Schwab as my broker. Today is the second green day in a row, and now the account is up 61% since I began the challenge. This is phenomenal. My accuracy, 100%. Well, I've only taken 2 trades. So here's the interesting thing. As you know, the pattern day trader rule, which was in effect from February 27, 2001 until June 4th, 2026, is gone. So I can day trade as much as I want in this account, but my quality standard is very high. Because it's a small account, I really can't afford to lose. Now, some of you guys might think, Ross, doing a small account challenge should be no big deal for you. You've got so much money. If you lose in it, you could always just reset the account and start over. I suppose that's fair. And you're right. This is not really my back up against the wall the way it was when I was first learning how to trade. But I'm pretty competitive. And so when I'm doing a challenge like this, I hold myself to a high standard. I want to succeed. I want to grow this account. And so even though you might argue that I could be a little sloppy with it, I'm not. I'm being very precise. And so in total, I've taken 2 trades. Now, interestingly today, there were 2 setups that I liked. And on the second one, I didn't get filled. My order got rejected. And you want to know why? It's because I put in the wrong number of shares, and the rejection was I didn't have sufficient buying power. I put in too many shares. I did the math wrong in my head real quick. So this was a shame. I'm disappointed that that happened. I ended up missing a great opportunity because I got in at the exact apex point, and that stock ripped right after I tried to get in, but I sat on the sidelines. However, it was the right move not to chase it and instead remind myself that there'll always be another opportunity around the corner, perhaps tomorrow on day 3. So for those of you guys who've been watching from the sidelines, if you have not already checked out a 2-week trial where you can watch over my shoulder as I'm doing this challenge, the link is posted at the top of the comments and in the description so you guys could start the 2-week trial today. All right, so make sure you guys check that out. Let's go ahead and jump on the screen share because we've got a lot to cover. As you know, all of the profits from these small account challenges gets donated to charity, and every time you guys hit the thumbs up, I add an extra $1 to how much I'm donating. We have now raised over $297,000. Thank you guys so much. I donated, in the last week, we did donations to 4 hospitals that are serving people that live on the Navajo reservation down in the southwest of the United States. And I donated another $30,000 to Dig Deep. And this was specifically for the Navajo project. And they're working on bridging the gap to provide clean drinking water to everyone in the United States. In fact, there are still millions of people in the United States that don't have access to clean drinking water. Now, we've probably all heard of Flint, Michigan, and some of these other places, but on the Navajo reservation, in fact, from 1952 up until I think it was 2003 or 2004, uranium mining ended up contaminating a lot of the local groundwater. And so people have been drinking this contaminated water, and as a result have higher rates of cancer. So making donations to the hospitals that serve people on the reservation was great, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that, but making a donation to Dig Deep, who is providing access to clean drinking water, is sort of, rather than putting a Band-Aid over the problem, is actually getting to the root of why so many people are getting sick. So as of right now, I've donated $319,000 as part of these small account challenges that we began. Let's see, it was back in, was it August of last year? September of last year. All right, so anyways, thank you guys for your thumbs up and helping raise this money. This has been really wonderful. Today is day 2, and let's start with a little context. Big picture. Yesterday, we had a stock that went up over 5,000%. I'm not kidding. 5,000%. Yeah, that's a pretty big move. From $1 a share, $1.11, up to a high of $66. And I'm sitting here right now and telling you, I did not take a single trade on it. Why? I didn't feel I could manage my risk. However, there were other stocks that were moving on sympathy to this underlying move right here. And this brings me to an interesting subject. Many of you guys know that I had the best week of my career when GameStop squeezed up to over $500 a share in pre-market trading at the end of January in 2001. And although I made a lot of money on GameStop GameStop was not the stock I made the most on. I actually made more money on other stocks that were going up with high short interest on sympathy to the move that GameStop was experiencing. And the reason was those other stocks were lower priced, so I was able to afford more shares. And because they were lower priced, they got a better ROI, or total percentage return. A $2 stock going to 8 is better than it's the same as a $20 stock going to 80, but usually $20 stocks don't go to 80. A $20 stock goes up to 25 or 30, maybe. So you get a nice trade there, that's fine, but 2 to 8 to 14 to 16, that's where things get exciting. And so when we had that big move on GameStop, I did really well trading sympathy and momentum. And that's the same as what's going on right now with the SpaceX IPO, is looking for sympathy and momentum. SpaceX is expensive. All these other stocks that are moving on sympathy are more affordable. And the AI sector is also very strong. And of course, SpaceX is one of the big segments of their business is AI. So naturally, any stock with an AI catalyst headline right now is doing well. This one had an AI headline yesterday, goes up over 5,000%. This morning, we had a couple other stocks that made quite large moves as well. Now, before I jump in here to the charts, let's just look for a moment at a few of the stocks that made big moves today. So as of right now, we've got CCTG. Now, this is very interesting. Look at this volatility. Yesterday, it was at about 80 cents a share, goes up to a high of $6, is back down to $1.47. That's on the 1 minute chart. We don't need to look at the 10-second, I don't think. So this is CCTG. MSW, this one today, look at this move, from $1.50 up to $5. Wow. Then we have CHAI, this one earlier today, back this up, look at this move, from about $1 up to $6 a share. We had AZI, which you'll see, we're gonna get into this one in a moment. This one went from about $1 a share down here all the way up to $13. And then yesterday we had, was it NPT? No. Was this it? Yeah, it was NPT yesterday. This was the one that I traded yesterday. And this one, unbelievable move from about $1 a share all the way up to $12. So it's safe to say that right now in this market, we've been seeing some pretty extreme moves. In fact, I mean, it's really been unbelievable. AMHA or AH, what was it? I'll scroll back on the scanners. We'll look at it from earlier. So we had a couple of stocks today that made these just unbelievable moves, back-to-back circuit breaker halts. However, as you can see, a lot of these moves didn't end up holding super well. MTEN was another stock today that made this big move. I mean, look at this, from $3 to $10, then back down to $3, then back up to $8, back down to $1.40. Give me some Dramamine because I'm getting motion sickness. This is too much. Call a chiropractor because I've got whiplash. You come up with the next one. So the issue here is, yes, we like volatility, but gosh, this is hard to manage risk on. PAVS, look at this one today. So PAVS today, this was insane. So this is the one that went up 2,000% today, from $1 a share up to $26, and then it came back down. We've seen this type of price action before. This is indicative of a very frothy market, a very hot market where there's a lot of exuberance. Traders are jumping in very quickly. Shorts are scared. They don't want to get in front of a moving freight train like this. But inevitably, they don't go up forever. And when they roll over, no one wants to buy it as it starts dropping. And now shorts have the advantage. So this is actually an interesting market because shorts are kind of sitting on the sidelines and letting these things squeeze up, and long traders are doing really well on them, and you just don't want to be the last one in or the last one to the exit before it starts dropping, because then once you get that first drop back down, that first red candle, that's when short sellers are coming in right in here for the drop and then the sell off back down. So basically, today, we were in such a hot market from yesterday's frenzied move with a 5,000% gain that I was expecting to see continued momentum. However, I will tell you that it's not uncommon that the day after a big move, I'll actually go red because, you know, we're kind of thinking everything's going to keep going higher, you mismanage risk, and you screw up. And although I didn't go red today in my main account, here's the P&L for my main account. I did lose $27,000 on CCTG. Now I finished the day up 42 grand, so I can't complain. And this, thank God, was not the first trade I took. The first trade was, now I can't remember, but I think it was DAIC. I was up 11,000. Then I lost 8,000. Then I made 23,000. Then I lost, then I made 15,000. I was up about 50 grand before I took this loss. So in any case, it is what it is. But today it was very easy to get on the wrong side of some of these moves. And so for those of you guys who are new, I will share with you that as a beginner, I found days like today to be some of the most difficult, because you have stocks that have huge ranges going from 3 to 9 and back to 3. I mean, it's insane. And I felt like I was just constantly chasing. And so if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. Remember that a year from now, you will have more experience and more intuition. You'll be able to better capitalize on this level of volatility than you are today. So the best thing to do during this environment as a real beginner is to reduce share size a little bit, just to accommodate the fact that you're likely going to see stocks that drop more than you expected, but also could pop up more than you expected. So it can work in your favor, but you've got to be careful. So AZI, as you can see here, was the first stock I traded. It hit our scanner, 388, 413, 518, 552, and it's squeezing up. It's got 12 million shares of volume, a 4.5 million share float, and relative volume of 1,500 times above average. And the volume in the last 5 minutes was 3 million times higher than average. The stock at that point was up 388% on the day, which made it our leading gainer. At this point here, it was up 532%. The leading gainers typically perform well because a lot of traders will notice them. When you have a stock that's a little bit lower, and some of these down here, they don't often do as well because they just don't get as much attention. So leading gainers typically are better. So it was the leading gainer, and it was on my Ross's 5-pillar scanner right here, and it triggered this alert right down here as it was continuing to move higher. So initially, it squeezes up here. I don't trade it. It pops up here to about $1.70 and then has this high volume red candle. That's a rejection. It drops back down, then it rallies way back up right here. Now, when it rallies up here, I still didn't trade it. The stock is a little cheaper. I wasn't sure it was going to work. You had pretty high volume buying, but at this point, we still had a bunch of other stocks that were moving, and it was hard to tell what was obvious. So it ends up selling off, coming back up, doing a double top, which creates a cup form. A cup, this is a little handle. I didn't trade this. It pushes higher right here, and then it rejects and comes back down. And at that point, I was like, yep, AZI, it's rejected, it's no good. I started switching and looking at other stocks. In fact, it goes all the way down below this orange trend line, which is the volume weighted average price. And this is where I think shorts shorts probably added on this rejection right here, added more as it stair-stepped down, and felt confident as it was below VWAP for a sell-off back down to basically where it came from, down here around $1.50. Well, what ended up happening next was it squeezed back over VWAP, and we got the creation of an inverted head and shoulders pattern, as you can see right here. As it squeezed up here to a high of 330, it pulls back, gives a micro pullback. I still don't take that trade because at that point, I wasn't really paying attention to it down here, if I'm going to be honest. And when it hit the scanner right here, I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's starting to move, but let's see what it can do. So it dips down, it rips up here to 410. And so I'm going to show you, this is the setup that we've been talking about in the first episode where I shared with you that I was resetting my account to $2,000. I showed you this pullback. So I let the stock squeeze up, I let it pull back, and then I'm looking for that first crossing candle, the candle that crosses the high of the previous candle over candle. And that's what we look for, and we look for the resolution through the new high a day. And so as this rallied up right here, I missed the first pullback. I wasn't watching it super closely. By the way, this is a 10-second chart, but I show it to you because it's helpful to see how quickly these stocks move and sort of the zoomed in patterns that were occurring. So micro pullback, it goes up to 576. It dips down, it pops back up, and this is the formation of an ABCD setup. It looks like a W for winner. And so as that pattern was forming. It dipped back down right here. As it dipped down to about $5 a share, I looked at that and I said, I think I need to take a starter. I'm going to take my starter. Now, of course, in the small account, I'm all in on my starter because that's just it, because it's a small account. So I added right down here, and we got this squeeze right there, squeezing up to 7, a little micro pullback right there, and then a push all the way up to $10 a share, nearly $10 a share. This was really solid. So on the 1 minute chart, this is what that micro pullback looked like right there. So you had the pop up, 3-4 green candles in a row, a little pullback there. Check the volume profile. So we've got a nice volume profile. Yes, higher volume on this candle, but nice volume on this. MACD is open. So our indicators are giving us a positive signal. I'm a buyer right down here. We get that resolution. This is my trade. In at $4.98 on that dip, buying as close to support as possible. And I took my exit up at $6.82. So I didn't sell. I didn't get as much profit as it turned out I could have. But nonetheless, $816 is phenomenal. So now the account is up 61%. I'm at $3,232.94 of equity in the account versus the $2,000 starting balance. 2 trades in, 100% accuracy. Average winners now are about $616. The account is growing, and I encourage you guys to tune in to day 3, which will be coming tomorrow. So if you have not already checked out the 2-week trial, again, the link is posted in the top of the comments and in the description, so you can come on over, do the 2-week trial. During your trial, you'll get access to the same software that I'm using every single day while I'm trading. This is Day Trade Dash. These are the scanners, the charts, the news feed, plus my live audio video broadcast with my market commentary, where you can see me trading in real time. So you'll see the gains, you'll see the losses, the ups and the downs. You'll see the small account, you'll also see the big account. So make sure you guys check it out. And reminder as always that trading is risky and my results are not typical. So take it slow. Your best bet is to practice in a simulator before you ever put real money on the line. Now, if you haven't already checked out the full-length episode where I introduce you to my strategy, I'll put a link to it here, and the link to day 3 will be right here. So check those out. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. Your thumbs up are going to a good cause. So I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you for day 3 tomorrow. I'll be streaming at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, I'll see you then.